Hi, what can you learn in the next 21 minutes? I don't know. You're going to have to figure that out. I am Kiki L'Italienne. I'm highly caffeinated, and welcome to the 21 and 21 Talks, where invited speakers share their 21-minute talks about all kinds of things, from beer brewing to beekeeping to building a business. This series consists of 21 talks, 21 minutes long, all happening in 2021. Speakers can choose to use slides. They can choose to forego them completely. It's really kind of an interesting thing. We haven't had anyone tap dance yet. I'm waiting to see it happen. But as long as I don't go over the 21 minutes, the floor is theirs. All talks can be watched live or as replays on the Association Chat YouTube channel. And if you think that supporting Association Chat will make your dog love you more, will make you love yourself more, well, please consider becoming a Patreon patron by visiting patreon.com/Association Chat. I'm smiling because so far, whenever I've done this call out, since I started doing this series, I haven't gained one Patreon patron supporter. I don't think that's really effective, but you know what? I enjoy saying it. So with that, I want to introduce you to this week's special 21 and 21 talk. We're hearing from Cheryl Williams. Now, Cheryl is going to be teaching us about the importance of investing in your own goal setting and achievement through a leadership coach that provides trusted advice, thought partnership, and accountability. Yay! Yay, Cheryl! Take it away.
Thank you, Kiki. And I really have to begin by thanking the phenomenal Kiki L'Italienne for inviting me to participate. So while the lockdown last year introduced me to my inner introvert, I'm still extroverted enough to be thrilled to have the floor for up to 21 minutes, carefully noting the up to 21 minutes to talk about anything I want. So woohoo, and thank you, Kiki. So I am thrilled to talk to all of you today about why you should partner with a career or executive or leadership coach to help you achieve peak professional performance. First, as I'm relatively new to the association world, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. So professionally, I celebrated my 4th anniversary as an entrepreneur a few weeks ago, and depending on how you count it. And in the past, I've worked for CoverGirl, Olay, Old Spice, although regretfully, I did not meet the man your man should smell like, so oh well. I worked on SK2, I worked on Pantene, and several other P&G brands on external relations. I've also worked in IT before Al Gore invented the internet. So if I could see you, I'd gauge kind of a little about you by seeing whether or not you get that joke. When I was teaching, students would say like, Al Gore, the environmental guy, but anyway. So I digress. So I had some incredibly cool days at work when I worked for P&G Beauty, including the days I spent with Kate Blanchett and Queen Latifah. I worked with Queen Latifah on some CoverGirl Queen Collection philanthropic work in East Harlem. I spent a lot of time with Tyra Banks. Another cool day at work was when I got to ride on what we affectionately call the Elvis private jet with purple furnishings to the Virgin Islands when we launched a new cosmetics line. And I think, one of the highlights was the 15 months I spent as an expatriate in Singapore. And after P&G, I had a different but also pretty cool work experience as head of marketing and creative services for Lutheran War Relief. And during those 5 years, I met and worked with incredible people who were working hard to ensure the livelihoods of families in dozens of countries, including rural Nicaragua and Niger. And I'm going to give Kiki a cue in a second, both of which I was blessed to visit personally. And even while we were there, okay, Kiki, while we were working in extremely challenged environments, we often had lots of fun. So that was me in the procession of 80 camels. Okay, that's my only slide today. Away it goes. So now, as an entrepreneur, I do 3 things professionally. First, I work with Kiki and the Techer International team to provide strategic planning and a wide variety of other services to associations. And related to that, I hope I'm not prematurely announcing that I'm the newest member, one of the newest members of ASAE's Marketing Advisory Council. So I hope to start to meet more of you through that volunteer service. Second, I'm a marketing and communication strategist for 501c3s and C6s, including clients like the State Theater of Maryland, Baltimore Center Stage, the Open Society Foundations, and Teach for America. But my absolute favorite part of my practice, the work that feeds my soul, the work that I'm going to talk with you about today, is my work as an executive leadership career coach. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So enough about me. Let's talk about you. I'd like you to take a minute to rate your professional satisfaction, or stated another way, how happy are you with your job? So the scale I want you to rate yourself is a 1 to 10 scale, and you can't give 7s. So that's a trick I learned from a coaching client at Mercy Corps, and I bet a lot of you are going to say 7. So to be clear on the scale, 10 is, yeah, I appreciate my paycheck, but if I could afford to, I would do this for free. So that's the 10 on the scale. And 1, well, 1 is, here's hoping we don't have anyone who's a 1 right now, but all of us, unfortunately, probably have experienced and know what it is, and many of us have been there, even if we're quite pleasantly not there right now. So, do you have your number? Do you have your number? It can't be a 7. Give you a minute. Not going to do the whole Jeopardy thing. So, first, whatever your number is, congratulations. If it's at the lower end, then congratulations for being honest with yourself. And given I didn't give you 0 or negative numbers as an option, congratulations that it's not lower. And one other thought, if you're on the lower end, congratulations on your resilience. I think most of us are more resilient after living through 2020, but it takes a unique toll on us as humans, as the people who will be listening to this presentation, to be on the lower end of the job satisfaction scale. I know because I talked about my exceptional days at work, but I have had more than my share, I guess 1 is more than my share, of experiences at the low end as well. So, for those of you on the higher end of the scale, you 8s, 9s, and I hope there are even some 10s out there, woohoo, congratulations. And what I hope you are doing, not just right now, but routinely, is celebrating the strengths and the accomplishments that got you to that higher number. So whatever your number is, whether it's high or low, I am fairly confident, 99.44% confident, which is as confident as ivory soap is pure, because once a cover girl, always a cover girl, and P&G gets into your DNA. So whatever your number is, I am pretty confident that I know 2 things about you. 1 is that there is or has been a challenge at work or in how you approach your work that is a barrier between you and your achieving your personal definition of peak professional performance. And the second thing I know about you is that you have strengths and accomplishments that you don't spend enough time celebrating and using to increase your happiness in your professional life. So, you have a problem at work. Maybe you have problems personally as well. We're not going to talk about that today, but you have a problem at work. You hate your job, or you love your job, but hate your boss, or you have a difficult employee, or you've received unexpected negative feedback, or you've received no feedback, or you're ready to be promoted, but the organization doesn't seem to recognize that, or you aren't getting enough clients, you're not getting the right type of clients, or you know you deserve a higher salary, or you're uncomfortable speaking in front of people, and that's holding you back. Or you're ready to explore entrepreneurship, or at least exploring entrepreneurship. Or more often than you think, you're just feeling vaguely stuck or unsatisfied. Or perhaps it's a problem or challenge that feels very specific and unique to you. So who do you talk to about that problem? Do you talk to your spouse or partner, your friends, colleagues, family members, your pet? Maybe you talk to yourself. I kind of do that a lot. Do you talk to your therapist? Do you talk to God? Or do you talk to someone else? All of these are viable options, and I personally strongly endorse both God and therapy. But I'll offer you a dozen or so reasons in no particular order why you should consider a professional coach as an alternative or a complement to these other options. So first, sorry for the shaking. Hope it's not too distracting. So first, your coach is paid. They are your employee, unlike your partner or spouse, who is kind of the opposite of your employee in most cases. Second, they're trained, and we'll talk more about that later. Ideally, your coach is trained. Third, your coach is goal-oriented, and not their goals, but your goals. Your coach's goal is to help you identify and achieve your professional goals. Next, your coach has tools. That scale of 1 to 10, with no 7s, can really help develop self-awareness, the one we used earlier when you were doing the rating. That's a freebie for all of you today, no charge for that. Obviously, very simple tool, but many coaches are trained on other tools and assessments like Myers-Briggs, Gallup's Strengths Finder, DISC, and others. Next, a coach is your thought partner, not an advisor. I advise too, but I charge a lot more for that. It's usually implemented on a larger scale, like a team or a department or a function or even an organization. And interestingly, in this kind of personalized context, a coach isn't even necessarily as effective. Sometimes it's less effective than, advice is not, a coach is effective. Advice is not as effective as thought partnership. Next, a coach can be your personal cheerleader. Rarely, and never in my experience as a coach, exclusively will a coach serve as a cheerleader, but there is certainly a part of the role, we talked about strengths and accomplishments, that includes that cheerleading aspect of the job. Some people need more cheerleading than others, and just as a side note, that's one of the reasons I think therapy can make such a lovely complement to coaching. Next, conversely, a coach can and should, when necessary, share hard truths. We're up to number 8. A coach is objective. That coach should have no personal agenda other than your success, your professional success. Next, a coach is experienced, which is different than trained. I was trained when I received my coaching certification, and I continue to invest significant time and money in my professional development. But experience is when I learn over time how to continually improve my coaching and how I apply what I've learned from one client in one situation to another client in perhaps a very different situation. Next, coaches are passionate. I haven't yet met a coach who doesn't do this work for the love of it. For me personally, it's the least lucrative of my business lines. I do it because I love it. Coaches are trustworthy and ethical. They'll protect your confidentiality, and I'll give an example of that later. The coach is all about you. You don't have to take turns listening like you would with a friend or a spouse or partner or pretending to listen. I'm sure you never do that. You always really listen. But it's all about you. I'm sure you listen compassionately and often to your friends and partners, but you don't have to take turns. This is all about you. And the final, most important reason is that you are guaranteed to make progress towards your professional goal, whether it's evaluating or finding new opportunities, managing that difficult employee, colleague, supervisor, or project, building your confidence, or simply getting unstuck. So we're about 2/3 the way through our time together, and we've covered some reasons why you need a coach. In summary, you have a problem, and just like it's a good idea to use a plumber if you have a leaky faucet, and a doctor if you're sick, you need to invest in a coach to achieve peak professional performance. So 2 more things I'll cover: why I became a coach and how coaching works. So as I mentioned earlier, as far as training, I'm accredited by the International Coaching Federation, ICF, which requires at minimum 128 hours of training, adherence to a code of ethics, demonstrating proficient use of coaching competencies, both through evaluation of my coaching and through an exam. I had to take a test, and 100 hours of coaching, 3/4 of which had to be from paying clients in addition to my friends and family while I was training. So Why does that matter? It's nice to say. I mean, I like saying that I'm a certified coach, and I do say it, not in every conversation, but I say it periodically. But it matters because actually anyone can call themselves a coach. And so as a result, being both trained and accredited is important to me. And related to that is why I wanted to become a coach. I thought I would be an excellent coach because I'm smart and I'm personable. I'm not going to ask you to rate me 1 to 10 with no sevens on that one, but I'm personable. I'd supervise people both unsuccessfully and successfully. And I've learned a lot, probably more from the unsuccessful leadership and supervision than from the successful leadership. I'm a professional communicator, and I love, love, love giving advice. I love giving advice. So here are 2 things that I learned on day 1 of coaching and coaching training. Number 1, first, being a supervisor or leader is different than being a coach. And number 2, being a coach rarely means you give advice or direction, which, by the way, is one of the many ways it varies from being a supervisor. So while a good supervisor or leader can and should use coaching techniques, a superior or leader is ultimately accountable to the organization, while a coach is accountable to the coaching client. So here's a quick example. I promised you an example. The organization, say an HR manager or supervisor, along with my coaching clients, each sign a coaching agreement, which includes rules and expectations around confidentiality. If the coaching client wants to use my time in more of a career coaching capacity to explore other opportunities, that's not something I'm going to share with the supervisor, the HR manager, or anyone else. I won't share any of our discussions, actually, whether they're about, good things or bad, without the coaching client's approval, and preferably not even unless the coaching client is in the room. So why is it okay for me to work with an employer if I'm being paid by Procter & Gamble to coach an employee? Why is it okay for me to potentially coach them out if they're a valued employee? Well, one, the employer knows that in theory, this is a possibility. It's the example I give even before I meet the coaching client so that it's not specific to that person, that it is known that this could happen. Second, confidentiality expectations are clear up front. If the supervisor or HR says to me, how's it going? I tell them up front, I'm going to say fine. So I'm telling you now, I might lie to you. Probably not. It's probably going great. It's probably going fine. But I'm always going to say fine and follow that up with, you should ask, coachee name goes here, how it's going. And then third, ultimately, if the employee isn't happy or a good fit, there eventually are going to be issues and separation. And a good coach will help ensure a healthy, positive separation for both parties. And as for point 2, giving advice, which I have to say, I really do love giving advice. I've learned that I enjoy being a thought partner just as much. I really enjoy that aspect of being a coach. A quality coach only gives advice as a last resort. I tell my clients that I will never, ever withhold perspective that might be valuable to them, but only after I apply Dr. Relly Nadler's drain and fill approach, where I've drained every last drop of the perspective that you, the client, has to offer before sharing my ideas. And even then, only after asking permission. So the only exception, as you learn about coaching, is career coaching, which can be a bit more directive because there are best practices, or as Glenn Tecker would say, effective practices. But even then, there remains a significant element of thought partnership, even if that's what we're working on. So I'm approaching my 21-minute deadline, so I'm going to fly through how coaching works. We talk about confidentiality, and we talk a lot about goals. So in the very first conversation, perhaps even while I'm being evaluated as a potential coaching partner, I ask folks about their long-term goals, 3 to 5 years. I ask them about their goals for 1 year. And we talk potentially in that first conversation where I'm being evaluated, but if not, in our very first conversation, once I've been engaged, about expectations and goals for the coaching engagement, which varies, but for me, it's approximately bi-weekly for 3 to 6 months. And if you're not sure, if you're one of those people that's feeling kind of vaguely stuck or dissatisfied, I can help you identify your goals. Or if you know you need more confidence and need help defining it, or whatever it is, I can also help you identify and lock in on those goals. Next, I personally am an affirmative coach, which means that I focus heavily on your strengths and accomplishments and how you can leverage those to help you achieve your goals. I listen deeply, I ask powerful questions, and I help you develop specific next steps and plans to help you break down any barriers to completing those next steps. I serve as an accountability partner, and I help you identify and leverage key insights and takeaways from each coaching conversation. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm going to quickly say how you choose a coach. The International Coaching Federation can connect you to certified coaches. LinkedIn Profinder can connect you to coaches as well. I used to use that for a little while in identifying clients. Ask for referrals. People may be using coaches that you know. Interview 3. I spend an hour complimentary with anyone that's interested in learning more. And unlike today, at least half of that time is the client sharing versus me pitching or explaining. And if the first coach you select isn't a fit, try again. Don't give up. Mercy Corps calls these interviews chemistry calls, and I love that expression because chemistry is key. And just like any other personal or professional relationship, sometimes the first person you connect with isn't a great fit. So I have about a minute and a half left. So I'm going to say 7 points to summarize coaching. A coach is a thought partner. A coach can be a cheerleader. A coach is definitely an accountability partner. A coach can appropriately share hard truths. A coach is an outstanding listener. A coach helps you identify and achieve your professional goals. And you can't coach yourself. God knows I've tried, which is why I periodically engage a coach myself. So I'm going to wrap up in my last minute by sharing why I love being a coach. Every coaching conversation I have with a client propels them towards achieving peak professional performance. As anyone who's ever watched a toddler knows, baby steps still propel you forward. So I hope that this up to 21-minute talk will inspire you to seek a coach to take that very first baby step or that first step toward moving your number toward achieving your dreams for your career. Kiki?
Oh my gosh, Cheryl, thank you so much for sharing so much with us about why we need to look at getting a leadership coach. And I have to say, I need to talk to Cheryl a little bit more beyond what we're doing with Techer International because I need her more in my life. Oh my gosh. So do you feel 21 minutes smarter, 21 minutes more enlightened about why you should look into getting a leadership coach? I know I do. If you have gotten a lot from this particular session, I hope you reach out to Cheryl and connect with her. She has this to teach and so, so much more. For everyone watching, you've now become 21 minutes smarter about this, but what are you going to do with that knowledge? In the world of association chat, we know that beyond these 21 minutes that you've had today, we must keep asking questions to learn every day. Because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.